Hey everyone, welcome back to The Marketing Perspective. I'm James Danella and I'm excited about today's show. We are going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, networking. When I began our marketing firm 20 years ago, I came from a national background. Here I am starting this regional and local company. And I want to tell you a really short, quick story. A friend of mine named Paul Erickson, I'm giving you credit, Paul Erickson, if you're listening. He worked for an office supply company in that region. And he was trying to sell me office supplies as a business owner. And we hit it off. And he asked me, he says, how do you market yourself? I said, well, Paul, we're an ad agency. And he went, no, really? But how are you getting the word out? And I said, well, I came from a big background where if you build it, they will come. He's like, yeah, no, they won't. And he was right. And I knew it. I said, well, what do you recommend? And he says, you should get out and network. I'm like, get out and what? Now, a big corporate background from my past, you would think, I networked, but I never called it that. I was always relational. I was always out with people, building with vendors and clients and things like that. But I didn't understand what that was. And he brought me to, an entity called BNI, which if you're listening, many people know BNI. It's a worldwide organization. And he dragged me to a meeting, kicking and screaming. And I was like, oh, wow. It took me about a year to really get it under my feet, but I got it. It changed everything for our business. It helped us grow. I think without that interaction with him, I don't know where our business would have started. We had a much quicker ramp up. And I give a lot of credit to Paul Erickson. So if you're listening, please just give me a shout out and we can laugh about it later. So why is a marketing strategist talking about networking? I know you're thinking it, right? Because networking is a part of marketing. A key part of marketing. Any marketing strategy that we build for a client, networking is built into it as part of the model. I don't care if you're B2B or B2C, because the number one way for any business to grow their market share is word of mouth. You have to be good at what you do. You have to have people talking about you and bragging about you. You want them to be bringing more business in the door. I get asked the question all the time. Well, is the marketing really working? Yeah, the marketing is working. I said, well, it's not working as well as word of mouth. It should not work as well as word of mouth. With so many options for you in networking. We moved our business here into Nashville 4 years ago. And I started, of course, right before the tornado and COVID and all that. So that was a lot of fun. But I tried kicking tires of a couple of local networking spots, and I've been underwhelmed. And I will tell you that I did come across an entity that I fell in love with, and we started playing nice. And in the past year, it's a relationship that I've built, and I'm hinting at these are the people we'll be speaking to today. But before I do that, just think about there's all kinds of private groups, there's chambers, national organizations, on and all different ways to network. So how do you decide for yourself what's the best fit for you? And on top of that, ask yourself, are you a great networker? Because we're going to talk about that a little bit today too. So before I ramble on even further, I want to bring on my very special guests and people that are becoming dear friends to me. There's Josh and Tony, and they are missing their partner in crime, Samantha, today because she had an emergency. But Josh and Tony are going to man the ship. And I would like them to formally introduce themselves in a more professional manner than I do. So, Josh, why don't you start?
All right. I'm Josh Minton with HQ Insurance, a local independent insurance agent here in Middle Tennessee, and a co-founder of Connect Nashville.
Yep. I love that Josh went right to the 15-second elevator pitch. This is who I am. This is what I do, just so you know.
Efficiency.
Tony?
Yeah, it's just ingrained in us. So my name is Tony Bostic. I am a fully independent mortgage broker here in Nashville in the Franklin area with a company called Music City Mortgage. And I'm a co-founder of Connect Nashville as well. And just love it. Glad to be here today. Thanks for having us.
I'm so glad to have you both. I've been looking forward to this one for quite a while. We've been trying to get on each other's calendar. So one of the things, I really appreciate that you're here. Thank you for coming on. We're going to ease into this. I'm going to be gentle. Start telling us a little bit top level of what Connect Nashville is.
Yeah, so I'll take that one. So Connect Nashville is a networking community that's been, you hear that term grassroots or organic. This really was a grassroots and organic thing that came about. It's a networking community based mostly online. That's kind of where the community connects virtually. And it was a Facebook group that started out with, 30, 40 people. I'm not sure how it started, Josh. I don't remember that far back now, but today it's nearly 12,500 members. It's all Middle Tennessee members. So small business owners, entrepreneurs, people like that in Middle Tennessee. And the idea behind it was just that Josh and I, when we first met, I think I was about 3 or 4 months into mortgages and he was about 6 months into insurance. And at that point, this was early 2016. And at that point, what we were doing to network was just, everybody's probably heard of Meetup, the Meetup app. And, you just go on there and look for business networking things. And that's kind of how we met, just doing those things. And when we talked, actually, Josh and I have a little bit funnier of a story of how we actually met. That might be for another time, though, James. But, that might require some help. But when we met, and we were like, "What are you doing in network?" And I was like, "Dude, I'm just checking out these Meetup business networking groups, and some of them are okay, and some of them are a bunch of weirdos, and I don't really know, if this is working, and there's got to be something better." And Josh was like, "Yeah, man, me too." And he said, "Well, I've got this Wednesday morning coffee that I do with a couple guys. It's just small, but some great guys. Just come check it out." And that became the flagship networking group, the first kind of official group that would meet on Wednesday mornings. And I think when we first met, was it Just Love Coffee in Brentwood there? Yeah, Josh. Yeah.
Over in near Maryland Farms.
Yeah. And so then it grew from there. It was like 3 or 4 of us, and for a couple years, and then it would grow to, all of a sudden it was like 15, then it was 20, and before the pandemic it topped out about 50 some people every week that would be coming to it.
Wow.
And and then it just kind of grew and grew from there. I mean, we can get more into maybe about the growth of it and the different meetings and stuff, but it really was a very organic thing that just kind of started with Josh and I asking the question or making the statement, there's got to be a better way to network in Nashville. And so that's kind of how we started.
Yep.
With 12,500 members, which is what you said, in a concentrated area, that is a big statistic. That tells me a lot. And I didn't know that until just now. Gosh, this thing can go national, just saying. What I really liked about it, it's informal, it's very relational, which is part of what networking is supposed to be, building relationship. And you also have another format that, now I'll brag a little bit. So we all met in a group called Business Connections, which is a little bit more structured, regimented week by week. And that's while Connect Nashville is you don't have to pay if you really don't want to be a part of it. Business Connections is a pay, but you own your chair. It's that kind of a model. It is definitely referral based in regard. So I like that model just because of the world I came from. So here's me being a shameless marketer for a second. Just imagine tying the two together in a way. So I want you to have more business connections. I do. I've been begging y'all to do that. But imagine having that and complement it with a Connect Nashville or Connect whatever town we're talking about. And so one is more in the morning structured and the other one is like in the evening or more relaxed, and they play off each other and feed off each other. Just going to put it out there publicly. So now I've said it. It's on record. If they do it, do I want proceeds? Not really. I just want the street cred that I gave you the idea.
We'll get you a commission off of it for sure.
Awesome. Yeah.
I'm an Italian kid from Brooklyn. Street cred and maybe lunch would be awesome.
Hey, you can do that for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
So we touched. I'm covering a couple of things because some of the questions I'm about to hit you with, it'll all come to light for our listeners. I want to ask you what I think is a hard question. Well, no, wait, you got to back up. I'm rewinding. I'm going to cut that part. Tony, you mentioned, so we talked about population of people. Can you tell me how many locations there are?
Yeah, how many different groups that we have right now? Yeah, so
Yes.
Connect Nashville Business Networking is kind of, you could think of it as the overall banner, right? The brand. And then the flagship group was obviously what we called the Wednesday Morning Coffee, which is now called Connect Cool Springs. And so when we branded it, however, 3-4 years ago, we decided that what we were going to do was just have these different meetings, and we would call them Connect whatever that city is or that place. And the way that came about was, the group was like 50 people there for Connect Cool Springs, and people were like, man, we love it, but gosh, I really wish there was something happening, in Spring Hill. I drive an hour to this one. And so Josh and I were like, well, maybe we try it, let's just try it and see. So I don't know if Spring Hill was the next one, but we started Connect Spring Hill. And whenever we launch a new location, we're very intentional. Of course, some of this is, through trial and error, and you learn as you go along. Like we have facilitators, because obviously Josh, I'm a mortgage guy. He's an insurance guy. We have our own businesses as well. So not only are we doing this, but we have that as well. So we can't just network 10 times a week, all over town. Then we'd do nothing, because we do have a structure to it. We'd get nothing done in our other business. So we have facilitators that lead those meetings. And it's just required that they really catch the vision. So we're a little bit more, not a little bit more, we are choosy, and we're really intentional with our facilitators. They catch the vision, and they know the heart behind it, what we're doing. And, they leave themselves at the door, and they facilitate these meetings in a really great way that just helps the water level rise for everybody as much as we can. And, we do that because that's the heart behind it. And then it is incumbent upon the individuals then to take it and run with it. Like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. It's so true in business and networking as well. We're creating the opportunity. We're creating the space, which is as much off of it as we can, because we don't want to be overindulgent with our own businesses in it. Although is where we get a lot of source of our business from. But it's not building Tony. It's not building Josh. It's not building Samantha's kingdom. That's not what it's about. It's about creating a space that's lets the water level rise for all that are involved who want to catch the vision and run with it. So that's the heart behind it. And now that this is a long way for me to get to answering your question. Now we have, on Mondays, we have Connect Murfreesboro and Connect Mount Juliet. Tuesdays, we have Connect Lenox Village and Connect Hendersonville. Wednesdays, we have Connect Cool Springs and Connect East Nashville Lunch. Thursdays, we have Connect Spring Hill. And then Fridays, right now, we do a virtual meeting online. And that's kind of funny how that one came about. Maybe we talk about that later. But we do that. And then about every 4 to 6 weeks, we do a big happy hour mixer at a different sort of geographic location in town. So we try, if we're on the west side one month, we try and hit the south side the next month, and vice versa. And the happy hours are anywhere from 130 to 200 people that come out and attend. And it's way more informal. It's like, grab a Coke, grab a beer, grab a water, whatever you like, and just go mingle with people. And it's laid back. We do giveaways. We have sponsors for those events. They get a lot of traffic that come through to their booths, and they build a lot of stuff that way. So we've seen a lot of success with that. We just launched the sponsorships. Back at the beginning of this year, wasn't it, Josh?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's been great. So
if you're listening today, there's a stereotype that I call serial networkers. And these are the people that go to absolutely everything. I don't know how they have time to run their business, and maybe they don't. They make sure they hand their card out to every single person in the room. It is, it's kind of hard to watch. It's painful to me because that's not networking. And we'll talk about that a little bit deeper in a minute. I'm just gonna, this is the one that I'll call out, but I'm going to ask you later for you to call another bad networking faux pas. So these are the people that they'll go to absolutely everything. Like Tony just mentioned, at least 8, 9, almost 10 different opportunities to network just with Connect Nashville. not even counting business connections or all the other things that are happening in Middle Tennessee. And these people go to all of it. Now, do you think that's effective? So as a marketer, you could be getting your brand out there. That's absolutely. But if you're just handing cards out, I am telling you that people are taking that card and tossing it the minute they leave because you did not make a connection. You didn't show interest in them. You're very front facing and selling. And that is not networking, period. The end. I'll spare you guys having to talk about that in any depth. I'll be the bad guy here. Just know that if you're listening, definitely connect with one of these locations that Tony's talking about, maybe even two, maybe in your footprint or two different areas that you're really trying to grow your business. But to do it in every one, people kind of get let on after a while. And you become the people that go, oh, that person's coming. Don't be that person. I'm trying to help you in this environment. I won't do it face to face anymore because people just don't embrace it. Can't imagine why. So I see you guys are nodding. So y'all agree with.
Yeah. I tell a lot of the newer people like to go to as many meetings as you can to check out the different personalities, but then find one that you fit with and stick to it. Like there's nothing wrong with checking them all out, but if you go to every single one of them all the time, like, what are you really doing?
Right. And so let's take it a step further. It's not even just the connection in that room. It's what you do with that connection outside of that room that really builds deeper relationships. Like I'm sure the two of you, we're not going to go into that story today. We're not, but it that relationship evolved outside a room. It wasn't in that space, and that's true networking to me. Yep. But that's to me. I want to ask you guys now, what's networking to you? I want to start with Josh.
I mean, I think at the very foundation of it is just building relationships. I mean, you meet people at a meeting, you meet with them outside of that meeting, you get to know them, you do a lot of stuff with them to the point where like that person's not just a business partner, but a friend. And you really have a heart for working with each other and for helping each other grow. It's not about just what I'm getting. It's about, well, I really care about this person and their business. I want to help them. And you're looking for ways to help them all the time.
Tony, what do you think?
I totally agree. Yeah. I mean, when it comes to it, for me, we create space and we create opportunities for that first initial, just like, oh, hey, I'm such and such. Yeah, I'm such and such. That's all we're doing. And then it is incumbent upon, and we try and push this as much as possible. You then, like we always say at the end of all of our meetings, all right, guys, take the rest of this time, set one-to-ones, set meetings, dive in, get to know each other. We'll see you next week. I networked I went to networking meetings when I first got started in 2016 for over a year. I don't think I saw a single referral in that first year. My big referral base was, I'm a church guy. So I went to all the realtors that were in my church. I went to, I was lucky I had a large church. So and they had a bulletin, like a community board. Nowhere has that anymore. And this was a mega church. So it's funny to me that they even had it, but they did. And there was of course, 30 realtors on there. I just tried to have coffee with all of them. That's how I first started getting referrals originally. And then people that knew me that I worked with and that kind of stuff. But I don't think I got a direct referral from networking for over a year. But I realized that takes time. But now it's the number one source of my business. I don't make cold calls. I don't do anything like that. I don't buy leads. Well, like our office, we're not that. We are 100% word of mouth, relationship driven. Mm-hmm. And which is kind of rare for mortgage people in general sometimes, but that's just how we build our business. And so now, what is it? Almost 7 years later, it's the largest source, obviously, of referrals and business that I get. But it takes time. So networking, in the first place early on, it's just making that first connection. But it's you taking the initiative to build on that relationship. And you find people that you like and that you click with, and you find people that you don't, that click with someone else. And That's all right. It's Nashville. There's enough business for it all to go around, That's
right.
And so you got to take the good with the bad and move on. There's going to be people that want to work with you that don't want to work with somebody else, and vice versa.
As much as my marketing heart pitters a little bit and sinks when you said, all we need to do is word of mouth marketing. I was like, it's impressive because it did take a lot of time. And I know the effort that it takes to build that. For those people that don't have that patience or don't understand what it's going to take to really build that kind of following, yes, you need to advertise without a doubt.
Yeah. Well, and I look at advertising a little bit different. Like what you do, I think is totally awesome and great.
Yeah.
Do that.
Thank you.
We'll probably talk more about that in the future. But I'm talking about the people that, they buy in, MLS leads from Zillow or whatever, and they're just making cold calls to a bunch of people,
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Calling realtors and just cold calls. Those realtors are getting 100 calls every Monday or Tuesday from loan officers all over town. They don't want to hear from you. Go meet them. Meet them in person first. It's way easier.
I used to publicly speak on this before COVID. So one of the things I used to point out, we were talking about those serial networkers. If you don't really understand what that looks like, it might be you. Just I'm just going to say it. And another way to look at it is be a homeowner that's getting all of those touch points in the mail that you just literally pick up and throw out. The scams, the things that it looks like an important letter and it's just those horrible mortgage letters that come. Because Tony, you made me think of this. I get them almost every single day. And now I know what they are. And I'm literally just garbage. Hopefully I'm not throwing anything out from like the IRS or, but those postcards and sometimes they come to current resident. That is not effective marketing. You are not building relationship. You are not making a connection with your consumer in any way, shape, or form. And that's what you're doing when you hand out that business card. Basically, you're saying, you're not a person to me. You're just something I need to try to bring business to me, and it will fail. So if I'm belaboring, I'm doing it on purpose. Please stop. It's not networking. We all know it. You probably know it. You just don't know how to do it. So as far as knowing how to do it, we're going to dig in a little bit deeper in a couple of minutes. I'm going to ask some other questions of these professionals to help you. But I still want to know. So I gave you my bad marketing thing. I want to know yours before we dig on. So just pick something that, oh my gosh, I can't believe people try to do this in networking and it just fails.
Yeah. So, well, this kind of happened in our business connections group a long time ago. So we obviously we post our roster, and we have a handout that we have that has everybody's roster, contact info, that kind of thing. And a guy came to the group one day, and took our roster and started mass texting everybody and calling everybody. To
sell to them or to start his own group?
To sell to them, to go do karaoke one time, a lot of random things, a lot of weird things. But it was like, hey man, these people don't know you. Right. You're literally just getting numbers to mass text. That's not networking. That's not what we do. And you ruin relationships because you're not worried about building it. It's a numbers game. You're just like, hey, let's just text as many people as I possibly can. So that's one of the horror stories I think I've been around. Tony was there for that one too. It was a lot of fun.
That's kind of a variation of the serial networker.
Yeah, it's a different variation of it, but it's the same mentality. Yeah.
Well, that's a good one.
Yeah.
What do you have, Tony?
I think a big one for me is the people that will pop up, the inconsistent network. Yeah. Maybe we call them that way, because you can over network and you can under network big time. And so whenever somebody asks us well, what's the number one thing that, has made you guys successful with this or whatever, Josh and I always say the same thing: consistency. You don't have to go to 10 meetings a week, but you find that meeting or two that you click with that works for you and go. Be committed. Be committed to those people. Be committed to that group. Put it on your calendar. It's just like a client meeting. It's what you do every week. You will become, this is a bit of a cheat, so, but you become the perceived, and I'll say perceived because sometimes you're not, it's just the perception, but you become the perceived authority in your field simply by showing up and being consistent.
Yep.
That is 80% of the battle right there for a lot of people. I mean, because if you've got I'll pick on insurance. If you got an insurance agent that pops up in January, gets everybody's card, does their thing, whatever, then they pop up again in August. Nobody cares. No, I mean, it's just they're like, and they won't be there next week. But when you're there and you're consistent, now, of course, everybody's got life, every now and then we get that. But if you're consistent, you're going to become the person that they think about. You're top of mind. So find those people. Don't be an inconsistent networker. Find the ones you can build into it. That's how it goes.
Yeah. Tony, you said a word that I want to speak into for a second. You said the word committed, be committed. And let's expand on that a little bit, because to me, what that means is, so you and I met, and now I understand who you are. Now let's meet outside. Let me learn about your business. What's different about you than the 20 million other mortgage companies or insurance companies or realtors or whatever you do? Because this is a tough market for that. Why you versus everybody else? And in my head, so as a networker, I want to put a person that I trust in front of the people that are my clients and vendors and friends. If you're the kind of person that you can't follow through, you're not doing what you say, the service that you present to me is not really what it is, I look bad. Not just you, but I look bad, and I lose my relationships, and I just can't let that happen. So if you're not committed to learning about the other person and really speaking life into them and opening doors for them and trying to help them, why would they want to help you? It is a relationship. Relationships are two-sided. It's not a one-way street. So I would like you guys to, if you can expand on that and talk about that and tell me what you got.
I mean, it is a two-way street. I mean, I think a lot of times people will show up and get involved in a meeting, and they're just worried about what they're getting out of it. We talk about this all the time. Just and I think that's why a lot of people aren't consistent, is because when they leave, they go, well, I didn't get anything today. Okay, I'll go next week. Okay, I didn't get anything today either. Let's go do something else. It's like, no, like, what are you pouring into the network? Like, if everybody has the same mentality of what can I do to help this network or to help this group of people, then everybody's going to do well, because everybody's looking at it from the right perspective. But when it's not a two-way, like we're all trying to help each other, it shows up very quickly, and people don't stick around. It doesn't work out. Yeah.
I've seen it for a very long time. All right, so we'll move on. Let's take the negative to the positive now. Yeah. So now that we've identified some terrible networking, what makes a great networker? So we're kind of, if you're reading between the lines, we're saying it. It's somebody who speaks life into someone else, somebody whose vested interest is trying to help them to grow their business. And you're educating them on what you do. And they're little by little, they're going to lean in and learn and trust you. And you become that trusted consultant. I mean, I can openly say that the two men that I'm looking at right now, these are people that I refer. These are people that I trust. I've given Josh business. He can attest to that. Tony, I am really trying. I'm trying to give him
a great realtor about Juliet.
Yeah, I did. And he's awesome. I hope that's becoming a good relationship. No, I want to hand you like cash. You know what I'm saying? So, because you're so good at what you do and you're so genuine. And I trust that. And there's a lot of people in your industry that I don't trust, but that's me. It took me time to learn about them, to understand them, that I can openly say that to all of you. I don't do that for everyone. I'm very close to the vest when it comes to who I refer, and I'm very careful because my network is important to me, and there are people in my life that I've earned that trust, and I feel I have to do the right thing by them. So that's me. What about you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the same thing. It's your reputation is on the line as every time you refer somebody as well. It's not just them. It's also you. So building that referral network with quality people, building those relationships, so as best you can, what are they, who they say they are they going to do what they say they're going to do, that type of thing. It's so important. So that's huge for me too. And I think Josh could speak to this too, I'm sure, in his own way as well. But I just echo everything you just said, James.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, same here. I mean, and I think the original question too was about like, what are some like positive things, like, or like best things that come from networking for people that are networking. And I think like to hit back on again is focusing more on what you're doing for the group. Like one thing that kind of changed my game was setting goals on how many referrals I pass as to how many referrals I get, because you start to get excited about passing referrals as opposed to getting them. And then you're so focused on that you don't realize it's coming from everywhere back to you at this point. So I think there's a lot of just mindset changes and focusing on what you're doing to benefit the group as opposed to what the group's benefiting you.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just to piggyback off that a little bit. I mean, I think now too, in, this economic climate, it's a lot of uncertainty, and election year, all that has implications, for small business owners, and especially people like us in mortgage and insurance, and James, even you in marketing. People are looking at their budgets and their ad spend and all that kind of stuff. They're like, what do we do? Right. And I think it's now, I mean, it's always important, but even now more than ever, it's like, you really need to focus on what you're doing and who you're doing it with.
Yes.
And make the most out of those relationships, out of those opportunities. And, you really can't take the risk of building bad relationships, with people in some sense, so it's, you have to be smart about it, wise about it, be prudent. That's a virtue that a lot of people don't seem to use much these days, but prudence is so important in everything that we do. And, so I totally agree with you, Josh. You just have to be intentional about it.
Yep.
You when you're talking about what's going on in the climate today, even financially, we're not, forget left, right, and politics and all that kind of stuff. It was worse at one point back in 2007 and 2008, and that recession was really bad. I don't think we ever truly recovered from it. It was pretty devastating for a lot of businesses. People took 35, 40% hits, and I can tell you, if you're listening from a marketing perspective, what we did back then was circle the wagons. You spend less dollars on branding and more on direct response. You lean into your relationships, and you basically protect yourself and get a little bit more concentric and build up what's right in your backyard, because you have that. And then little by little, you start reaching out again. And that's a one-on-one kind of a strategy in bad markets. The only time you would do the opposite, meaning, hey, let's spend more money, is when you want to be the elephant in the room. And we have had clients that did that to some success, and they just kicked the snot out of their competition, by doing that. They were the front runner, and then they maintained it, but they maintained it by having internal cultures that were genuine, that did what they said with the message that was outside. And those relationships were true relationships in their world. So it always comes back to that. Now, if you're scratching your head and you hear me say relationship, and you hear Josh and Tony say relationship, even from a brand perspective, when you are branding a business and putting it out there, you are building a relationship with your consumer, whether you know it or not. That's what increases what's called brand equity. That connection that people make that choose your brand over all the others is a relationship. And I wish Sam was here today, because she would be chomping at the bit, because social media is probably the best way to see that. If you don't understand that part of the industry, it's not talking at people. It's not selling at people. It's talking to them and talking with them and connecting. And it's a big difference right now. That's what your brand does, builds relationship. So as an individual, you're out in whatever networking you're doing, it's the same mindset. You can't think, sell, take. You have to look at, what do I give? How am I contributing? And how am I building that relationship? Will they come back to me tomorrow? And if so, why? What am I doing right? Ask yourself those hard questions. Don't just keep getting up and going out every day and giving out business cards and mass marketing to lead lists that you think are yours and all kinds of bad stuff. So I hope I'm making sense. I'll get off my soapbox.
That's all right. I have to give Sam a shout out, Samantha.
Yeah.
Josh, I know, feels the same way. I hate that she couldn't be here today, but Josh and I were doing this the pandemic, it's like gap years, right? So it's just pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. Then during that time, so however many years it's been, it must have been in late 2018 or early 2019, probably early 2019.
I think she came on like November. It was either November of 18 or 19.
Something like that. Yeah. It might have been 19. Anyway,
it might have been.
Josh and I were, we were doing this, we were building this, we put the brand, but we're not, we're not social media guys necessarily. Josh is way better at it than I am. And Samantha's the guru, Now I say that enough because I was a social media consultant for a few years. But I just knew enough to know when most people are full of it. You know what I mean? And so when Josh and I were like, man, we need help or whatever. And Josh was like, listen, there's this lady who's been coming to our stuff and I think she's pretty sharp. And I thought, well, I'll be the judge of that.
That's not a lie. He said that.
It's not a lie, is it, Josh? I'm the skeptic. And so we met and I liked her. Of course, James, she's a bundle of just life and joy. She's short, but she commands the room. It's great.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, this girl seems to know her stuff. And then when she would talk about the social media aspects and marketing and stuff that she does there for people, on the different platforms, I was like, okay, she seems to actually really know what she's doing. And so we kind of just watched closely for 6-8 months. And then Josh was like, I think maybe we ought to think about bringing Sam on as like part of the team. Like, we're really going to do this. We need help. And I was like, we sure do. And so I was like, well, let's get on a three-way call. So we got on this three-way call because I think Josh and Sam were talking a little bit more about it before. I think people sometimes are scared of me, and I have no idea why.
Well, he's a scary guy. Look at him.
Yeah, I look so scary. But so when they bring me on this call, and I did kind of put Sam through the ringer a little bit, but she just caught the vision. She caught the heart. And she had the knowledge to do it. And I knew, this isn't somebody who's in their underwear running Facebook ads in their parents' basement, like 95% of the social media experts, quote unquote, out there. This is somebody who takes it really seriously, has a business, is phenomenal at her business. It's growing, it's doing this. And so we were like, all right, let's do this.
So we're saying that marketing helped a networking organization improve.
What?
100%.
Nobody said that, I don't think. I don't know.
That's why I like James, you and Samantha, I feel like are so kindred in your mindset a lot.
We are.
On it. And it's like, it blows my mind because, she says it in a different sort of bubbly way and you really bring it down to earth to, to the.
Yeah, I smack you in the face with it and she's
more.
And
I mean, they're both phenomenal, but I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm like, this is how I know. It's so funny because I knew you were legit because I knew Sam was legit. And so when I heard the same kind of thing, I was like, okay, that brought me I was like, this guy is really something. And then we learned more about you. We're like, oh, this guy is like awesome. Like the OG guru of marketing. And so, I mean, our respect just every week, I feel like goes up and up and up for you and what you're doing.
It's Thank you. Appreciate it. But I want to speak into Sam for a second, because when we first met, I felt the same way about her. And I've been in the industry for so many years, and I'm an anomaly because I started on the production side of my world and crossed to the agency side. It gives me a different insight than a lot of people I come across over the years. And I'm told I'm more unique from media companies that I work with. Like we buy a lot of media and they're like, nobody talks like you. And they're very linear and, they make money and they move on. When I met Sam, it was like I met my female counterpart. Like our conversations are seamless. We understand each other's brain. She's a much younger version and prettier. I don't know what she says, but I'm really impressed with her. I think the two of our brains could actually rule the world someday, but that's another podcast.
There we go.
So I'm glad she's part of your team because it's definitely made a big difference. I do want to make a point. You said something about how you guys were the first ones as far as virtual meetings. I don't believe that's totally true. While I want to give you those props, there is another organization that was doing it even before BNI, which is an international company. And it was, this company is called NTI, and they've had their highs and lows and what's going on in their world. But they had a lot of foresight to be ahead of the game. And BNI wound up coming in about 6-7 months later, making everybody go virtual. You guys were right there neck and neck when I look back. And it was a good thing, but I still believe that virtual networking cannot be exclusive. It's a great starting point. It makes a connection, but you still have to go out and do the work outside of that room. Whether you do it virtually just with 2 people, or you go face to face at some point, you still have to build relationship.
Yeah. I mean, for us, it's so interesting looking back, and Josh, you can probably say about this too, but I mean, when we would have our happy hour events that we were doing before the pandemic, I mean, they were good. We'd have anywhere from 40 to 50, and that's pretty good for something like that. When we really hit the ground, when the pandemic happened, everything shut down. Now, and in Tennessee, we were a little bit more blessed, I guess you would say, that it opened up a lot earlier than other places in the country, obviously. So, we were able to kind of get back to it after however many months, with challenges, but still we were able to get back to it. But when we opened up our meetings back up and in person, that's when it really started to explode. It's like everybody that saw the value of networking and took it for granted before the pandemic, and then was doing virtual. And then when everything opened back up, they were like, oh my gosh, yeah, we got to get out and do this. They really needed it. And then all of our happy hours were 100 plus people from then on out. We've not had one, I don't think, that's been lower than 100 since we opened it back up, last year. It's been a little over a year ago now.
In fact, the first happy hour back from the pandemic was wild. It was I think we probably had close to 200 people.
Yeah,
it's definitely one of those, we're finally back out. Let's go. That's awesome.
But it just spoke to, it was hitting the need for people were they really understood how much networking played a role that they didn't even realize, and how much it put a dry spell on their business.
So this last question, I'm going to drop a little bit of a bomb. I think with stuff that we've talked about what's going on in the world and finance and inflation and gas prices, and businesses are getting a little nervous. What are we going to do? What I think a product out of that has become, especially when I'm watching in networking, is people are getting way too self-focused, which is getting extremely difficult to get them to really network effectively. They're not leaning into other people's lives as much as worried about their own. Yeah. Where at a time when it's even more important for us to come together as small business, we're not seeing the light. What do you think can be done here? Because I see it as a really big challenge. And I'll give you my example: inside versus outside referrals. So people are me stuff, but when it comes to outside, let me really help you and introduce you to somebody, but that took a little work and time, and they're not doing that as much. I think this is a part of why where people are just scared. What can we do to help? Throw some ideas out.
I think for me, what really changed my mindset, which was a book actually that Josh brought up in a meeting a few years ago. You know what I'm going to say, don't you, Josh?
You were saying exactly what I was going to say.
It's called The Go-Giver. The Go-Giver. And I'm self-help books. I have a whole thing about self-help industry in general, where I'm a little bit overly critical, maybe. But this book, you take the meat, spit out the bones, right? And this book was so transformative in the sense that, it was that exact thing. It starts with, this guy's at the end of his rope. He's not doing these things. He's losing his business. He's making horrible decisions. Things are just going really bad. And the solution for that changed his whole world was, don't focus on yourself. Just find out what you can give. Find out what you can give to somebody else, which is so counter to what you think you need to do in these times of lean, right? And these times of hardship is I got to get mine and hold on to it and do this and do that and just get to the next thing so I can get mine. But really what you need to do is start finding out, okay, what do I have that I can give? And don't even Don't even really think about yourself, sounds really hard because at the end of the day, we all got families, we got bills, we got mortgages, we got we all got that too.
Yep.
But if, I don't want to get spiritual necessarily here, but when you have that mindset of, I want to help people because they're in dire straits as well. What can I do to help them? And knowing that you doing that and focusing on other people will come around at some point.
Yep.
Will come around.
That's good, Tony.
Probably in a better way than you think. If you just have that little bit of trust and faith that you're doing the right thing for people.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Love them well, speak truth to their lives, and watch what happens.
Josh, you want to add to that?
I'll say the book also does a really good job of showing what it's like to be a connector and not worrying about like me sending you a referral because I need your services. But hey, this person over here is in my network needs to know this person over here that's in my network. You two get let's all go grab a beer. Let's all go grab coffee, like something. But like it focuses on how do I support both ends of my network and bring it all together. And that's what like really stuck with me was like connect people. Like even if they don't need a referral right now, hey, I think you two could do a lot of business together at some point. Yeah. I need you two to I need to introduce you to. And I think that was I tell everybody all the time, it's such an easy read, but there's so much good that comes out of that book that I think everybody needs it.
Yeah.
Josh, you just hit it right on the head. That's exactly how I feel. Connect people because it's the right thing to do. And it actually does make you look good. Ultimately, you're the consultant to them. Oh my gosh, I remember that Josh recommended me that person. So we could probably go on for days on this topic. And I know we have to wrap it up because you guys have a hard stop and we're right there. So I want to close with this. Hey, are you guys open to a follow-up? Let's get Sam in and maybe we go in deeper. Maybe we go in, we do a different, this is like covering all the bases today. Maybe we go in hard and like more educational and try to do like a session for people. Are you guys up for that?
Yes.
100%. Awesome. So I'm going to wrap you all up today. I want to thank you both for being on because this was very insightful. Opened my eyes tremendously. Tony, Josh, I appreciate you both being here.
Thank you, man. I hate that we have to wrap it up because I think we could go for probably 4 or 5 hours on this topic.
Yeah, I think you're actually jumping on a live networking video. Right? Yeah, that's hysterical. So you do what you say, which is what I love. We will definitely do a round 2. We'll just have to coordinate our calendars.
Yeah.
Tony, thank you, Josh. And thank you all for listening. And thank you for being a part of a marketing perspective. Have a great day. All right, guys. You're welcome.